Good evening, everyone. So tonight we are going to talk about the milestone 3 for our data mining course module, which is about accessing data from a data lake. And in our case, we are choosing the MongoDB. So a little bit background back to what we have previously done. So we have added some of the additional data crawling to what we previously had. So now we have tried Twitter API streaming and also the Reddit API streaming to get Twitter tweets data and also the Reddit the comments data from Reddit. And when we have the data, so we are storing all those raw data in JSON format directly into a NoSQL database, which is in our case the MongoDB here. And then for this current milestone 3, we are going to access the data from MongoDB and to perform some data processing and cleaning steps on it. So on our data structure, so let me show a bit on the graphic user interface of MongoDB. So MongoDB, this is like a NoSQL database, and they have a graphic user interface by MongoDB themselves, which is the MongoDB Compass, and this is actually quite a handy tool to check on the data structure that we have. Like for example, we have here a database, and then in each individual database there's like a number of collections, which is equivalent to the tables in MySQL. And then in, for example, the collection, each data is stored as a document. So we have a separate document for every single data. And then in each of the document, we will then have the key value pairs. Like here, for example, we have the creation time, the ID, screen name, language, text, etc. This is on the MongoDB. And then we are streaming the data in JSON format on real time using the API for Twitter and Reddit. And in terms of the Python library, we will we will need the PyMongo library in order to first create a client connection and then also to access the database collections using the built-in functions. And on some of the data cleaning and data preparation steps that we are performing on our raw data. So we are going to, of course, check for the missing and duplicated values. And then since we are doing a lot on the text operations, so we will do a series of functions to transform all the text into lowercase, and then to remove the emojis, punctuations, hashtags, mentions, the series of URLs, and also the non-ASCII characters. And then also we are going to remove the stop words that has no particular meaning. And besides that, we are going to also perform the natural language processing steps such as tokenization, as well as the selection of a particular language, in our case, which is English. And then let me show some of the steps that we have. So first, I would like to go through a little bit on the data crawling part. So we have Twitter API access token, and then all the authentication steps. And then we created a MongoDB instance connection. So at the same time, when we are doing the crawling, so we are reading the data directly into the MongoDB. And so we can see actually for now we have 2009 data. And then so every seconds maybe there are certain addition to the data row itself. So we are crawling in our case here, we are crawling the two keywords like Trump and Donald Trump. And then we see the data adding themselves, keep adding new data into the MongoDB. This is on the data crawling part. And then on the milestone 3, so this one I will go in a little bit more in details. So we have all the dependencies and the libraries, and then first thing we are going to create a connection on the MongoDB using the local host and then the respective database and also the collection. And then what we are going to do is we are going to read all the data into a pandas data frame. So we can actually see now we currently have like 3006 data set. And just to give an idea on how the data actually looks like, so we have like the default MongoDB collect document ID. So this one is not really relevant in our case, so we'll throw this column later on. And then the creation time, the user ID, the user screen name, the language, whether the tweet is a quote or a retweeted status, and then the full text, and also if it is a quote status, then the respective quote text as well. All this data is from Twitter API. So today I'm going to explain like some of the steps using the Twitter data tweets that we have already crawled. And so there are a few things to do in the cleaning and processing step. Like first, we want to check for the missing and duplicated value, and then we want to extract we want to like clean the data columns, rename the columns into a more proper text, and into a more proper names. And then for the cleaning part, so we are going to perform like all the tokenization, and then removing all the hashtags, URL, emojis on the full text and the quote text itself. So we are going to copy the data frame into a temporary df clean, and then just to check on the missing value. So by default there is no missing value, and also it shouldn't have any duplicated value because we are using the streaming API streaming function. And then here we are going to drop the ID, the default ID as shown above here. So the default ID, we are going to drop it because it carries no particular meaning. And to rename the columns into something more comprehensible, and then here are like some of the samples. So as we can see, there are a lot of like different languages, and then also the text, we can see like there are a lot of like maybe not understandable like in other languages, also like in French, this one. So what we'll do is like we'll create individual functions to perform all the processing steps, like turning the text to lower text, and then removing the emojis, and also the URL, hashtag, mentions, non-ASCII character, punctuations, and also stop words. Stop words, we are going to use the default library package that is the library that is already available in Python. So there's a list under the natural language toolkit. And then also to tokenize the words into for further processing when we are doing the modeling. And so we are going to combine all these pre-processing steps into one function. And before we do the actual text processing, let's take a look at the language that we have in our hand. So like we can see there are 2000 tweets in English, and then a number of different other languages. So in our case, because we want to do eventually we want to do a sentiment analysis based on the keywords like Donald Trump to predict the sentiment in the US politics. So for that, we will actually look only at the English text. And here we are now like performing the data processing functions on the two columns, like the full text and also the quote text. And then we can see here are some of the examples. So we can see now we have like only the English text, and then from the user, and also the username and the user ID, and then here we can see like some of the text. So we can see these texts are actually in better form. Like we can use the machine learning algorithm to do the modeling in the next milestone. So this one is just to share the sample, and then when we see the number of clean data, so now we have like 2100 started from 3000. So like we actually cut quite a number of data away. So yeah, basically that's all for our milestone 3. Thank you very much, and until next time.